hopefully I'll bring you some good advice here, but this is going to start the first draft of the night, and we've got some really great stuff here in the rare and uncommon slots. We have a Scrap Heap Scrounger, probably just going to slam the rare here. It's a powerful card and it's good for my collection. I only have 3, I don't have a full playset yet, but we have fantastic uncommons as well. Arborback Stomper, a 5/4 trample that gains 5 life for 5, is a great way to go. Same with Monstrous Onslaught. That's a 5 mana green sorcery that you can do damage split among multiple targets, so you can use that as a green removal spell that kills multiple cards. We had some really spicy stuff in that pack, so taking the Scrap Heap Scrounger there is mainly just for collection purposes. I think it's like on par with some of the powerful uncommons, and there could really go multiple ways in that pack. Here I'm pretty happy to take a Bomat Bazaar Barge. I think this card's really nice. Any card that replaces itself, draws you a card when you play it, is a good deal generally, and this can be quite a sturdy vehicle. You need to tap 3 or more power of creatures to crew it, but then you've got a 5/5 for only that 4 mana, plus you draw the card when you play it, and the fact that this card's completely colorless is very helpful. Powerful colorless cards are very nice to take early in the draft in any format, and Kaladesh is a little bit unique in the sense that it has much more artifacts than any other recent draft set in history, so you can take just a lot of colorless cards early on in the draft. That way, no matter what colors you end up in, you can play those cards. So I'm not a huge fan of the rare here, Padim, because it's by itself a 4 mana 1/4. You need other cards to combo with it to work super well. So we'll just take the great uncommon over the somewhat mediocre rare out of that pack. So we're completely colorless right now. We don't technically need black mana to use Scrap Heap Scrounger. We could just play it as a 2 mana 3/2 in any deck. That being said, I do think that Unlicensed Disintegration is a very powerful removal spell, and we're potentially playing black with Scrap Heap Scounger's black effect, so I might lean towards Unlicensed Disintegration over Whirler Virtuoso, but both of these are incredibly powerful uncommons. Whirler Virtuoso, basically on any of the energy cards, what you want is a card that it's a good deal by itself. And 3 mana for a 2/3 plus a 1/1 flyer is a great deal by itself. If you have any other energy to go with it, it's straight gas. It's just incredible. But that's generally how I would try to figure out if you want to take a card that has to do with energy or not. I wouldn't take a card that really doesn't work unless you have a ton of energy. I'd take the cards that are a good deal by themselves, and then just an incredible deal with more energy. But again, I am going to take Unlicensed Disintegration there because it works so well in an aggressive deck with Scrap Heap Scrounger. We're already leaning a little bit towards black with the Scrounger, and Unlicensed Disintegration, great black removal spell, fantastic in an aggressive deck with a lot of cheap artifact creatures like the Scrounger. You crafted a Disintegration for Brawl before you knew the set was coming back. That is unfortunate if you got to draft one in your free draft. So Prophetic Prism's a pretty nice early pick because it easily slots into any deck. Just 2 mana, draw a card, bam. Also helps fix your mana. Any card, as always, that draws a card just immediately replaces itself, keeps you going. That could be a fine pick here. We could take Hope of Ghirapur just for an aggressive artifact-based deck. Just a 1 mana 1/1 flyer isn't particularly exciting, but it's also an artifact creature, so it makes Unlicensed Disintegration do that extra damage when you cast it. So I could see the argument for Hope of Ghirapur if we really want to rare draft that card, but that's a card that's so weak and constructed even that I wouldn't even really try to rare draft it. Here we can really easily just take a great black removal spell. We're definitely in black at this point, probably black-red, but with a card like Prophetic Prism, we can splash in removal like Unlicensed Disintegration if we get just a couple copies of Prophetic Prism to give us that mana of any color. So the only color we're definitely playing right now is black with Daring Demolition. Cool rare here, but I already crafted a copy for my Bolas Brawl decks, so this is just never going to be constructed playable, but it's really fun in Bolas tribal decks. But I already have my 1 copy, so I don't need a playset. Just need the 1 for Brawl. Alright, Skyskiff is a really solid attacker. Nice, cheap vehicle, completely colorless, so it can go into any deck. Nice aggressive card. Pretty good at blocking as well with 3 toughness on a flying creature, so Skyskiff, pretty good vehicle here. Nice early pick again for being completely colorless. Yeah, things are looking pretty up here. It's also another artifact creature whenever we crew it, so just another card that works with Disintegration. I guess Disintegration we just need artifacts, period. They don't have to be creatures. But either way, wow, Whirler Virtuoso here. really late. Pack 1, pick 7. I'm probably going to take this. We might go the full Grixis here. Go for the Bolas color scheme. There's some decent mana fixing. You'll be watching while working. How's it going, Salad on the side? I hope you enjoy the draft while working. Yeah, I think I'm going to take Whirler Virtuoso. There are enough colorless cards in the set, plus a decent amount of color fixing. You can justify some 3-color decks in this format. With a lot of colorless stuff, anytime you're stumbling on mana, you can at least cast your little artifacts on the board. And, of course, with the mana fixing like Prophetic Prism, those will help you get to your 3rd colors. So we'll just take 2 solid gold cards, as long as they're color adjacent on one front. They're both red, so we're blue, black, and red so far. This pack doesn't seem super great. I'm doing quite well, Salad. I'm having a good time in this draft so far. I hope you all are as well in the chat. This pack kind of sucks, though. I guess we could take Hazardous Conditions and splash in some kind of, like, miniature board wipe, but everything else in here is pretty weak. I guess we could take, like, Puzzle Knots if we just want another random artifact sitting on the board. Probably not going to play any of the cards that were in that pack, though. This pack, we could maybe justify a Fen Hauler in this sort of deck. We have a lot of artifacts already, and this isn't technically a 7-mana 5/5 because of the fact that the vast majority of the time we'll have some artifact sitting on the board, helping us cheat it out a little bit early. We can tap those artifacts to cast this on turn 5, maybe at the earliest, by tapping a couple vehicles. So Fen Hauler, pretty nice late game card. Yeah, that is a big bummer, Ryvoke. They did really surprise us all with the Kaladesh. I think I'm going to take Sweatworks Brawler. I'm thinking like red-black as the core, splash in a little bit of blue, because both red and black are pretty aggressive colors, and a lot of our cards are pretty aggressive. You know, a 2-mana 3/2, a nice cheap vehicle, a removal spell that damages our opponent's face. So we'll take the aggressive red card there over the more controlling blue card in that pack. Night Market Aeronaut vastly underperformed for me. I think this card's actually nowhere near as good as I gave it credit for in the black-white deck. And that's kind of the only deck it would work in. I'll just take a random combat trick, I guess, but I'm probably not playing it. Bit of a draw spell here, Cathartic Reunion, or just a cheap Menace creature. I'll take the Menace creature. Discarding 2 cards is a bit of a hard sell. It's a lot easier to hold on to 1 land in the late game, to discard to a card like Tormenting Voice or Thrill of Possibility that's discard 1, draw 2, than it is to hold on to 2 cards you don't want. For Cathartic Reunion, where you have to discard 2 to draw 3. Ooh, alright, this is a spicy pack. I'm probably taking Hungry Flames here. This is a great removal spell for an aggressive strategy. Instant speed, 3 damage to a creature, and 2 damage to a player. So kill an opposing small creature and do some damage to your opponent, so you're still damaging your opponent while you're casting your removal. Pretty great deal all around. Nothing much else in here. Renegade Wheelsmith's good in aggressive decks, but then I'd have to be splashing in white for that, which means I wouldn't be splashing in blue for Virtuoso. I don't really think you can make like a 5-color aggressive deck. You could make a 5-color controlling deck, but with aggressive decks, you always need to curve out your powerful 3-drops on curve, and that's really hard to do when you have many colors of them. We'll just take the great removal spell here. Barricade Breaker, another one of those cards like Fen Hauler. Just a solid, big old game-ending card if you have some artifacts to improvise it out with. Wouldn't really play it without the improvised support. We could try to splash in Windkin Raiders, but this does require double blue to get on the board, which is a little bit more difficult to splash. But it is a 4-power flyer, which is pretty great. Definitely better than the Plunderer. Being 1 toughness is a little bit of a hard sell because it's going to die to any removal in the book. But it is still a 2-mana 2/1 flyer. The ability's pretty irrelevant, but 2-mana 2/1 flyer could be a splash as well. If we're not taking a card to splash in, I'm probably just taking the Renegade map to help splash in the 1 card I'm already trying to, the Whirler Virtuoso. Yeah, I guess I'll just take the Renegade map here. I mean, Windkin Raiders is pretty difficult to splash, requiring double blue, and Skyship Plunderer is a little bit weak to splash in. And the red and black card here are just pretty filler, the kind of cards we can get late during the packs. So we'll take another mana fixing card, make sure our mana's all good for the 3-color deck here. Nothing great here. but there's nothing much going on for pretty much any colors. We can just take a nice mid-range menace creature, I suppose. Now we have a Renegade map and a Prophetic Prism, so I don't know if I need to take a second Renegade map highly. There's like a good aggressive white card and a good aggressive green card, but we're very far from those colors. I guess we don't have too many actually colored cards here, so we could end up just completely jumping ship and being like black-green out of nowhere. But, I don't know, that's a little too bold for my blood. I'll stick to what I have here so far. Yeah, it looks like those packs just generally didn't have a lot of black or red cards, not that black or red are heavily drafted, because this pack here has several really good options in both colors. Weaponcraft Enthusiast is great because you get 3 creatures out off the one card. They are small creatures, a 0/1 and a couple 1/1s, so it's best in like black-white where you have multiple ways to pump your whole field. But it is still a pretty good card in general. That might be the pick. I'm probably going with Aether Chaser, though. I just really like this card aggressively. Maybe that's an over-evaluation. 2 mana for a 2/1, first strike, and it spits out a servo the first time it attacks. I guess there's also Live Fast, a great draw spell. You know what? I'm going to take the draw spell here. I really don't know. All 3 of those cards are great and super solid picks to take there, but I always like drawing cards and getting some good value, making sure that I still have things to cast throughout the game. We only have 8 creatures right now, and if I want to get aggressive, I do need some more of those, so this time I will take the Aether Chaser over the Live Fast. Yep, there's just another Chaser, so we get the 2 options, Live Faster and Aether Chaser. Did we have an Aether Chaser wheel in the last pack, or are you just referring to this one? If we had an Aether Chaser wheel in the last pack, then yeah, we should probably be taking cards like Live Fast before them, because you can kind of read based on what people are passing, how late cards are going to go. Oh, you're just referring to this one. All good, Ryvoke. Just double checking, because it is entirely possible. There are a lot of times I don't notice what has and hasn't wheeled, so just that bonus information can always be good. We could take a Hijack and try to pick up enough Defiant Salvagers to do the Forgotten Realms thing, where you steal your opponent's creatures and then sacrifice them. It's that, or like a 3rd Sweatworks Brawler or a 3rd Alley Strangler. I already have so many of those, they're pretty replaceable in terms of what I have, so yeah, just in case, we'll take a Hijack, see if we can't get some Defiant Stranglers to let us sacrifice opposing cards. 4th Bridge Prowler isn't the worst. There are servo tokens everywhere, and there's a couple playable 1 toughness creatures like Aether Chaser and 2 mana 3/1s. If your opponent's playing any of those, you have a pretty good time with this. Play this, kill their card, and have a chump blocker for later. But when they aren't, you're not having a good time. Yeah, I'll just take the 4th Bridge Prowler, and we'll fingers crossed hope for the best on that one. Ooh, now here are some really good removal spells against 1 toughness creatures. We have Chandra's Pyrohelix, which can kill 2 1 toughness creatures, because you get to divide that damage as you choose at instant speed. Or we have Subtle Strike, which is an absurd combat trick, because you can use this as just 1-for-1 removal if they have a 1 toughness creature, and permanently buff one of your cards. Or you can use it as a ridiculous combat trick where your 3/3 gets blocked by their 3/3. All of a sudden, you turn your 3/3 into a 4/4 and beat their card without losing one. And yours is like permanently a 4/4. Subtle Strike's just one of the best combat tricks of all time, so I'm going to take it there. And here I will take that Defiant Salvager. We do have the Hijack to steal an opposing creature. Now we have the Salvager to try to sacrifice it. Do some Rakdos sacrifice things here today. Just take the red card out of this pack. Alright, aggressive Rakdos deck. It looks like it's panning out so far. I guess I'll take a combat trick over the Night Market Aeronaut, because that card was very unfortunately weak that one time I tried to play it. Weaponcraft Enthusiast. Pick 12. No respect for the Enthusiast. I'll absolutely take it. Sure, it's not as good in black-red as it would be in black-white, but now we have 1 or 2 ways to combo with it. With a Reckless Fireweaver out, the servo tokens that we fabricate will each do a damage when they come into play. With a Defiant Salvager out, we can sacrifice those servos to make a really big attacker. Seems like a decent card. Last pick, Mind Rot, but I think you all know by now I'm generally not a fan of Mind Rot. Just don't love high variance cards. Well, we might be in a position where we're supposed to take one of the red removal spells, because monocolored spells are less likely to wheel than dual-colored spells, because anyone who's playing red, be they red-white, red-green, red-blue, any of that can take one of these red removal spells, whereas the only people that can take the red-black one are going to have to be red and black. So it's a lot more restrictive, but I don't know. I feel like Unlicensed Disintegration is so dang good that I should just scoop it up here, and in this deck as well, where I have a lot of artifacts to consistently do the 3 damage. But maybe the pick's Furious Reprisal here. The 2-for-1 off for Reprisal is always fantastic. I'm not 100% convinced I made the right pick there. Both of those cards are fantastic, but I know that whichever one we take, we're ending up with a great card for the deck. We can have another Defiant Salvager, but we did wheel the last one, I believe. We got it pretty late. I think like pick 9 or 10 or something. So hopefully this one comes around late as well. I kind of want to just take an Aether Chaser, because I do want to make sure I have a lot of good aggressive creatures at 2 mana, and right now I only have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 creatures at 2 mana. I want to have like 5 ideally to curve out with. If you count vehicles as creatures, I guess we have a Sky Skiff at 2 as well. But yeah, I'm going to take Aether Chaser. Hopefully we wheel Defiant Salvager. I suppose it's possible we don't, and that would be a sad day. So what do we have for removal? We have 2 Unlicensed Disintegration, we have Hungry Flames, we have Daring Demolition. I think we're doing good enough on removal that we can pass up on Die Young or Chandra's Revolution in order to take another just powerful splash card here. We have Whirler Virtuoso, creating a 2/3 and a 1/1 flyer for only 3 mana, or we have Maverick Thopterist, which we could improvise out for a little cheaper, and it's a 2/2 plus a couple 1/1 flyers. Do we have enough energy to want Virtuoso over Thopterist? I think both of these are awesome. I'm going to go Virtuoso here. Again, really close pick. Some really good uncommons in these last few packs, but I'm going to go Virtuoso because just looking over at the deck, we do have Live Fast giving some energy. We have Aether Chasers that get energy, and they might die before they get to attack because of the 1 toughness. Yeah, maybe nobody went red-blue here. I mean, we did take those cards like pick 3, so it's possible like we're getting passed from this direction. Anyone over here could be red-blue and just didn't get to see those cards. But definitely the people on our right aren't. I do like Fortuitous Find as a late game draw spell. Pretty great. We have a lot of artifacts and creatures. I think I like that better than Fretwork Colony. Fretwork Colony is very risk reward. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's horrible. A 2 mana 1/1 that can't block, but it keeps getting bigger and bigger. But as long as it's getting bigger, you're losing life. So you deal a lot of damage to yourself throughout the game with that card. And if your opponent has a lot of servos or just Thopters to chump block it with, that card can end up just killing you more than it can killing them. So in the wrong matchup, I feel like that card's a liability. But in the right matchup, it's incredible. This pack's really difficult. Chandra's Pyrohelix and Live Fast, a great draw spell and a great removal spell. With double Whirler Virtuoso, I'm actually going to lean towards the Live Fast because we get to draw cards and produce energy off of this card. So it's a great deal all around there. Another Chandra's Pyrohelix or a Subtle Strike. I do really like Subtle Strike, permanently buffing one of our cards while we're killing an opposing creature. Yeah, I'm going to go Subtle Strike over Pyrohelix again, but they're both fantastic. We have 14 creatures here. I'm going to end up with a little bit lower of a creature count than I would have hoped. We have a Fortuitous Find and double Live Fast. We're doing great in terms of draw spells. I don't know if I need another Fortuitous Find. Let's grab another Mana Fixer. We have 2 Virtuosos, now we have 3 Mana Fixers for them. Seems good. Alright, here's another creature, another great one, Weaponcraft Enthusiast. Fantastic with sacrificing stuff, fantastic with Artifact Enter the Battlefield effects. Night Market Lookout isn't great, but I need more creatures, and I'm not going to splash in an Aether Theorist or a Shipwreck Moray, I think. I mean, they both give me a lot of energy for our Whirler Virtuosos, but yeah, I don't know. I'm probably going to cut Night Market Lookout, but I'm also not looking to splash more cards. With double Fenhauler in the late game, I'm not really looking for a third, I think. Although, we have a lot at 3 mana. Maybe we take a third Fenhauler over a Pillarbug. I have a lot that cares about having an artifact creature out as well, or just an artifact in general, so I guess I will go with Pillarbug. We've got a decent energy theme, so having a Die Young go this late is fantastic for us. Of course, we have double Aether Chaser, double Theorist, double Live Fast, lots of ways to get energy, and a few separate ways to spend it now. And we'll easily take a creature over another combat trick. We have 2 subtle strikes, so I don't think I'm going to have room for mediocre combat tricks when we have 2 of the best combat tricks in the history of draft in our deck. Alright, so we're going aggro here. We're just slamming some faces with this deck. We need to cut 16 cards here. Or I suppose on the bright side of things, we get to cut 16 cards here. Make this deck just as ideal as possible. So this is 19 creatures, so we can cut the Night Market Lookout. I like cutting the Night Market Lookout before I cut the 4th Bridge Prowler. I mean, I only have 2 vehicles, so I don't think that we get to tap this without attacking super often. That's where you do get value out of the Night Market Lookout. When you know that you get to keep tapping this throughout the game, no matter how many blockers your opponent has, then you're pretty happy with this card, because you're just constantly getting that life drain, but I just don't think we have enough vehicles to do that. Whereas 4th Bridge Prowler, I don't know, getting a little 1/1 token out of the way seems okay. But I suppose I can go down to 17 creatures here, just cut 4th Bridge Prowler and call it a day. But we'll take a look at our 3-drop, see if there's anything very mediocre. We definitely have some mediocre filler creatures. You know, like Alley Stranglers are nothing special. But just to keep our creature count up, I think we only cut 1 creature here. We could cut like 1 Alley Strangler or 1 4th Bridge Prowler. Suppose we have a ton at 3 mana. Sure, I'll cut 1 Alley Strangler here, I guess. But it's really close between the 2. They're both not a card I'm super excited to have in the deck. Take the Alley Strangler out. Salivating Gremlins is potentially just an actual blowout of a 3-drop for us. If we get to cast this on turn 3 and then cast a Weaponcraft Enthusiast on turn 4, creating 2 servos, we just get to slam in with a 6-power Trampler on turn 4. Because it gets a separate +2/+0 for each artifact that enters. That's very fun. Yeah, I think we go with that. I like the Renegade maps in here for mana fixing. And the fact that you just sacrifice this and immediately draw a basic land to your hand means that they pretty much replace a basic land. So we get to run these and then just run 15 lands in here. And we can also use them to improvise, I guess, if we try to slam down a Sweatworks Brawler turn 3 instead or something like that. Oh yeah, the Salivating Gremlins, they're salivating because we got some tasty plays coming up, that's for sure. Yeah, I think we cut 2 lands here, go 15 because of double Renegade map. Maybe we stick to 16 lands, but I don't think we keep 17 with 2 maps in here. We still need to cut 13 cards, and we need to cut 13 non-creatures here, so I've said it before many times, Mind Rot is a good card in the right scenario. Some players can have great success with Mind Rot. I just don't find myself to be one of those players. I already said I don't like Rush of Vitality when we have better combat tricks. I think Subtle Strike's just a super fantastic combat trick, so I like keeping that in. Hijack is mainly just in here for the combo with anything that can sacrifice cards, and we only have 1 card that can do that, Defiant Salvager. We did not wheel the second Defiant Salvager, so I will go ahead and cut the Hijack here. And we still need to cut 8 more cards. We probably have enough card draw on the deck to cut the Fortuitous Find. As good as this is guaranteeing that you draw 2 relevant cards later in the game, it is a very late game draw spell. We can never cast this until like turn 5 or 6 after 2 of our things have died, whereas like Live Fast, we could just cast it as soon as we want every time, and it gives us energy towards Virtuosos, so it's kind of fixing us up for 2 facets. And I think the fact that we have like Prophetic Prism, which cantrips when we play it, draws us a card when we play it, and Bomat Bazaar Barge that draws a card when we play it, I think we're doing pretty good on card advantage that we don't need to find with, again, double Live Fast, Bazaar Barge, and Prism. 7 cards to cut still. Oh, our non-creatures are so good. I guess with a couple vehicles, we could cut a little bit more, or a few more creatures here. I guess we can cut the 4th Bridge Prowler. Because we have 2 vehicles, as well as having multiple creatures that are multiple creatures on 1 card. So while we technically only have 15 creatures in the deck, we do have 2 2-mana creatures that come with an extra creature attached. 4 3-mana creatures that come with an extra creature. The Virtuosos come with a flyer. The Enthusiasts come with 2 servos on the ground. So we're actually like a little bit higher creature count than it looks just because we're spitting out 1/1s. And while normally having a bunch of 1/1s isn't going to do much, the fact that we have the 2 vehicles to have those 1/1s start crewing means that I think the vehicles make up for the low creature count in conjunction with the token production here. So we can probably even cut a couple more creatures, but I don't want to go absolutely off the rails with it. I think I'll cut one more. We'll cut an Alley Strangler, but we'll keep it at 14 creatures here. 14 creatures, 6 of which produce tokens, which can crew our 2 vehicles. Hopefully good enough. And I think I will cut 2 lands for the Renegade map. I'm going to cut 2 islands, to be honest. We only have 2 blue cards in the deck, the Whirler Virtuosos, which we can just treat them as like 4 or 5 drops if we're not going to hit the land for them that consistently. We have 4 blue sources in the deck now, so 1 out of every 10 cards. You draw 7 cards in your opening hand and 1 card per turn, which means on average we draw a blue source by like turn 4. Turn 3, turn 4. Yeah, if we're on the play, we don't draw a card on the first turn, which means we draw our 3rd card on turn 4. If we're on the draw, we draw our 3rd card turn 3. So if we're on the draw, we hit a blue source on average by turn 3. If we're on the play, we hit it turn 4. But there's always variance. There's going to be games where we never hit the blue source. There's going to be games where we hit multiple. We prism and have an island on board or something like that. Maybe we do throw in 1 more island to more consistently cast Virtuoso turn 3. I guess our mana base isn't that difficult. We only have 1 card in our deck that requires 2 cards, or 2 mana of 1 color. Just Daring Demolition requiring double black. Everything else, all our red cards only cost 1 red. All our other black cards only cost 1 black. Good amount of colorless cards. Mana base isn't super difficult. We might be able to cut like 1 red source for another island. Yeah, we have a very, very, very marginal lean towards black over red, so if I cut 1 land of anything, I cut 1 red. Sure, cut 1 red, add in a 2nd island here. Now we have 5 blue sources, 2 islands, 2 renegade maps, and 1 prism. Seems good to me. Alright, we still need to cut 3 more cards. Unfortunately. I really like the energy theme on the splash with the Virtuosos. So I do really like Die Young and double Live Fast. Plus, I mean, Live Fast, Die Young. How can you not have those cards in the same deck? Maybe the Subtle Strikes are a little weaker in this deck than usual, just because we have lowered the creature count to 14 plus 2 vehicles. But I don't know, I feel like they're still always so good. The problem is our just straight up removal is so good that maybe the combat tricky removal isn't as important. We have Daring Demolition, Hungry Flames, 2 Unlicensed Disintegration, and Die Young. And that's not just like a random Die Young, it's a Die Young with several other ways to get energy. Maybe we cut Subtle Strikes here. The card seems so good, but our other removal is just all straight up pretty much kill it no matter what, plus potentially do damage to our opponent. So 1 final cut. 15 lands here, with double Renegade map being basically 17 lands. We definitely don't cut another land. I really like every non-creature card left in this deck. I think every non-creature card that's still in this deck is just an individually powerful card that also just synergizes well with this deck. I feel like we definitely have mediocre creatures in the deck, but it is important to keep that creature count up. So kind of just stuck between a rock and a hard place here where there's nothing I want to cut, you know? But we should cut something. I guess I could see just cutting 1 Sweatworks Brawler or cutting 1 Live Fast Something that's like a little redundant. Salvager definitely doesn't seem as powerful without a hijack, but we still have some servo production. And again, yeah, I don't really want to cut creatures. I guess I'll go down to 1 live fast. I don't know. I'm gonna run it like this for now. If I remember to make some changes to the deck, some additions or subtractions throughout the rounds, then we definitely have options. There are several cards in our sideboard that are good cards that could have made the cut for sure. So I guess we can play it this way, get a little more experience with the format and see what cards are over and underperforming. And based on that, make some adjustments as the rounds progress. Just because I don't know how many times I'm going to draft this format, and we have Live Fast, Die Young in the deck. This will be Live Fast, Die Young the deck. All right, solid start here. Great aggressive 2-drop creature, a first striker that's difficult to block. That spits out a servo token. And then if we do get the attack in with Aether Chaser, we spit out the servo token, we can use it to improvise out a turn 3 Sweatworks Brawler. Unfortunately, our opponent does have a 2/3 on turn 3, and it's a powerful one, giving all of their artifact creatures +1/+1. So very good if they have Fabricate like our Weaponcraft Enthusiast. All of a sudden their servos are going to be 2/2s. So what do we want to do here? We can't really attack into that. We don't have any removal backup. I don't love dropping Enthusiast before Fireweaver, because Fireweaver is going to get that extra damage off. Yeah, I guess I'll just play a Fireweaver. Fireweaver can block a 2/3 all day long, so we get to sit here defensively, and now we're getting the maximum damage out of every artifact that we play throughout this game, which is going to be a lot. We have 4 in hand, 2 right here, plus 2 servos on Enthusiast. No play from our opponent turn 3 there, but they have 4 mana untapped in a blue deck. I'm not familiar with the format's counterspells off the top of my head. I feel like they're just kind of stuck on mana. We could unlicense Disintegration here, blow up the Chief of the Foundry. If I want to do that, I should attack first, get a servo out, then do it. Then I'm dealing 3 extra damage to them. But I don't think I want to, because that thing's just a 2/3. Just play like a menace creature here. Could also just play a Prism and a Sky Skiff here, start attacking in the sky instead. I think I'm just going to cast the Sweatworks Brawler. This can get around the Chief of the Foundry all day. If they have any form of counterspell, I think we'd rather them counter our 3/3 Menace than our Disintegration, because we can hold that for a better creature later. So we play Brawler. We hope they tap out for some kind of really big, good creature. Uh-oh. Nimble Innovator is just a good creature because of its Enter the Battlefield effect. On board, it's not worth killing, but definitely great value for the 4 mana. So that is unfortunate for us. We do hit the blue source if we hit any Whirler Virtuosos. So what do we do here? We could Disintegrate the Chief of the Foundry, then we can attack in really well. Oh yeah, we can all attack. They block the Fireweaver, sure, but everything else gets in. I guess there's no reason to attack with the Fireweaver. We have 5 mana total, so we can Disintegrate plus play a 2-drop. We could go Sky Skiff to be as aggressive as possible, or Prism to draw a card. I think I'd rather stay aggressive with the Skiff. Yeah, they have 1 blue mana up. They should not have a counterspell here. But I guess just in case, we'll play Sky Skiff first to bait it out. Yeah, I assume just nothing here. Plus, this way we get the extra 3 damage out of the unlicensed Disintegration without having to wait to spit out the servo to do that. We are going to spit out the servo, though, because that servo can crew the Sky Skiff all day long. This way we're attacking with these 2, holding this to block their 2/2, and attacking with the Sky Skiff in the sky from the servo token. So down to 10 here. Feeling pretty great about this start, but we are low on cards in hand. So they could find a way to grind themselves back into the game if they have a lot of cheap removal here. But our board state's pretty fantastic. It looks like they just have a Chief of the Foundry plus probably an instant here with 3 mana up. Another Sweatworks Brawler, that seems pretty great. I think we just attack in, see what happens, then try to cast spells post-combat, because none of our cards are going to affect the combat here. I guess I could Prism first and see if I draw another Unlicensed Disintegration, so if they double block, I can really get them. But it is too late for that now. Yeah, that probably would have been the better play. I probably should have Prismed first, just in case we hit a cheap removal spell, because then we can attack in with Aether Chaser as well if we can get that Chief of the Foundry out of the way. But I will get it out of the way on the double block here. I think this is a fair trade, a 3-3 Menace for a 2-3 that can give all your servos +1/+1. Because if they just go like another white source and cast the Fabricate 2 white card, then they would have a 2-1 and a couple 2-2s here. It would be a really bad time for us. Aether Tradewinds is going to go ahead and return Nimble Innovator and our Sweatworks Brawler? Is that the choice here? Alright, fair enough. So they don't want to trade with the Chief. They just take the 2 in the sky then. Alright. Well, I'm definitely going to Prism first, because I can use the Prism to improvise and cast the Brawler, so there's no reason not to cast it here. We do hit a Renegade map. That comes into play tapped, so I can't immediately improvise with it, so I think we just Sweatworks Brawler here. If that didn't come into play tapped, we'd definitely Renegade map into Brawler, but we cannot do that. Alright, 6 mana for our opponent. I do like their username too. Drakehaven. Powerful build around an Amonkhet Remastered. 7-wind my free draft of Amonkhet with that card. 7-2 though, so not the perfect 7 or anything. All right, they get to recast an Innovator, get some great value off of it. Oh, that's gonna be really good value. So they bounce 3 of our cards and then they cast the Nimble Innovator for free. Pretty nice. Pretty nice rare here to stabilize a bit. You were just about to mention their username, too slow? Oh yeah, great username for our opponent. I mean, they're at 7 life and we have a Reckless Fireweaver in hand. I'm sure we're still in a fantastic position. We get to hit them in the sky for 2 with Skiff. Can we play 5 artifacts this turn? No, we can only play 3. We play Renegade map plus 2 servos. I feel like that might still just be the play. We just go Fireweaver. Then we make servos. Like, I mean, like this part's definitely the play. Like doing this and then just attacking with Skyskiff by crewing with Fireweaver. But then the question is whether we want to improvise out a Brawler or hit them for 1 more damage by playing Renegade map. Probably better to improvise out a Brawler unless they have a Wrath effect. If they have a Wrath effect, we kind of get blown out by just dumping another creature out instead of getting the 1 more damage, but pretty unlikely. I only think there's like 1 Wrath in the format, so we'll just play the next big creature rather than the map. We can ping them for a damage with the map next turn instead. Cloud Blazer. So they are the white-blue kind of flicker deck. White and blue in this format have a lot of good enter the battlefield effects, and then cards like the Aether Tradewinds to bring your cards back to your hand, draw some cards. There's a Pacification Array, a great defensive card there. Kind of a more expensive to use Icy Manipulator. Keep tapping our creatures, keep them from attacking them. So even after the life gain, they're still down to 5. We have 2 more damage to deal to them by casting artifacts here. So they're essentially down to 3. We attack with a menace creature here. If they don't block it, they die. If they double block it, they only have 1 blocker left. So if I just attack with everybody here, is that my best option? I think we just try to get lethal here, and the best way to do that would be cast a Pillar Bug here first. That way I can crew with a Pillar Bug so I can attack with the servos. I could get blown out here if they have a great cheap instant, but it would have to cost 2 or less, so I'm playing under the assumption that all they can do here is tap something down with Pacification Array. Oh yeah, they tap the Sky Skiff. If they're just going to show me that, then I feel really safe about just slamming the all-attack button here, because we do 1 more damage to them no matter what. So if they block Brawler, they block 2, that's locked up. They can only block 1 more creature. They block there, take 3, go to 1 life. Yeah, they're guaranteed dead off this attack because of the Menace from Sweatworks Brawler. Like, if it gets through, we play Renegade Map and they die. If it doesn't get through, it's stopping 2 of their blockers, which means 3 damage gets through over here instead. I guess I should have cast Renegade Map pre-combat, because technically there is like a rare chance that they would survive this, and that would be if they kill Fireweaver on blocks. But they could only do that if they double block the Fireweaver, and if they double block the Fireweaver, they're just dead on board. So I guess it didn't matter either way. Wow, yeah, Reckless Fireweaver put in the majority of the work that game. I wonder how many Enter the Battlefield effects we had from the Reckless Fireweaver. But that was a lot of life drain. Super good work from that card. Definitely seemed like a pretty filler creature to just slap in there. It's like, might as well, we're aggressive and we have a lot of artifacts, so. But it definitely overperformed in that game. Alright, see, here we are, Renegade Map and Prism. We have 2 of our blue sources here for our blue splash. We do have the blue splash in hand, so I'll take it. This is essentially a 4-land hand, which I guess isn't ideal for how aggressive we generally try to be, because Renegade Map is just another land. But it's not like I'm going to mulligan a hand that has all 3 of our colors and a few playables. Whirler Virtuoso is also really good with Salivating Gremlins. Get some extra damage when we plop out those Thopters. It's possible we could hold on to Renegade Map here, just to use it for 2 extra damage with Gremlins, but I would rather just thin out the deck and grab the land immediately. And that way, even if Prism gets like blown up, we have the blue source. And now we do draw a 2-drop creature to cast, so I'm just going to drop the creature here, because we'll have all the mana we need whether or not we have a Prism out. And I can just save the Prism to play later on to draw a card, and also give the Salivating Gremlins a little bit of a buff. Ooh, Bomat Bazaar Barge. Alright, well, now I definitely don't feel so bad about having a 4-land start here, because we've drawn multiple ways to just keep drawing cards here. It's cost 3 mana to use, so they can't spit out a blocker now, and even if they could, it would be a 1/1, so a first strike is just going to shred through anything here. Yeah, just get in there, Aether Chaser. Do your thing. I will get the servo now. Because against a green deck, I just don't know if Aether Chaser is going to be able to attack later on. Because they have like 2 mana 2/3s in that color at common. So they just play a 2 mana 2/3. Chaser's not going to be able to get in and get that servo out. And there's the 3 mana 2/3. That'll block it right there. But Daring Demolition as the draw? Don't mind if I do. That seems like a good deal in general. Clear the board, attack for 4. I guess the problem is then we don't have a removal backup for Pashiri, so she could start taking over the game eventually. It's going to take a while, though. And they have to tap out to use her abilities currently with the amount of mana they have. We could also just not get super aggressive. We could just play Bazaar Barge to draw a card, and then we're attacking with a 5/5 next turn. That seems pretty good, because Gremlins will still attack in. It'll be a 4/3 trample. They can only kill it if they double block. If they double block, I kill their rare. Or their Rhino. Either one I think is a decent trade. Yeah, sure. Can see getting the Bazaar Barge out, save the Demolition for next turn. Ooh, a Fen Hauler for late game too. Wow, we've got some big stuff coming up. Do we see a double block? We do. So I think I want to kill Thriving Rhino. Because if they ever get into a position where they have enough mana to consistently use Ovia Pashiri, we can just blow her up with Demolition. And I think it's much more likely that they're starved on mana just trying to play good blockers rather than using her for tokens. I think that's much more likely than it is that this Thriving Rhino doesn't block well, because just being a 2-3, it already blocks well all day long. So we still have Demolition if I need to blow up Ovia here. They get a 1-1, so I definitely don't need to right now. Play Whirler Virtuoso, get some more creatures onto this board, and crew Bomat Bazaar Barge. Attack with a 5-5 and a 2-1 First Striker. They can make a 1-1 to chump block the 5-5, but that's all they can do. They can't block well with a 1-2. Yeah, seems good to me. Seems aggressive. We could also cast Aether Chaser and Prism if I want to draw a card here, but I think I want my board to go wide, especially with flying creatures, because those flying creatures can get around any kind of tokens they make with Ovia. Make a Thopter right now. I guess I'm probably just crewing with a Servo anyway. Yeah, because this isn't going to attack in. Because they just block with Ovia. I'll still crew with the Thopter though. Because I guess I could attack with the Servo. The weird thing with the Servo is if I attack in with the Servo, it means they can't chump block with a 1-1. Because if I attack in with the Servo, they have to choose whether or not they're making a Servo before blocks, and in order to make a Servo, they tap Ovia. So if they tap Ovia to make a Servo, they chump block there. If they don't, then they don't get a chump block off. So attacking with the Servo might guarantee 5 more damage in so that they can block here without losing a creature, or so they can block Servo for Servo trade. You know, we're just going to slam in here. It might not be worth it because we do have a big improvise card we could use that mana for, but this way they can't chump block this turn. They just take 7. Yeah, and they go for that block and don't do the chump block. They do have impeccable timing to clear out our 2-1, which isn't great, but it did cost them mana, which means they don't get a 1-1 out this turn, so it's not the end of the world. Now they're stuck on 5 mana here. They draw a card with Unbridled Growth, 2 cards in hand, and Ovia's ability. They drop an Airdrop Aeronauts. Alright. They attack with Ovia because she's not going to make any blocks here. So we have Live Fast, we have Daring Demolition. I think we just kill Ovia because now they're at the point where they have 1 card in hand, so they're likely to just keep making XXs here, which will only be 1-1s or 2-2s, so it's not great, but I think it's better than the Airdrop Aeronauts when we have a 5-5 constantly attacking them. Like, if we can just keep hitting them with the 5-5, they can't block it well with the 4-3 flyer, whereas they could just keep making 1-1s to chump block it with. So I think it's better to just stop them from ever producing tokens here, because with 1 card in hand, it's very likely that that's the best they have to do is just keep using the mana sink. Pretty nice draw from our opponent, although it could have been the 1 card in hand. Hunt the Weak to kill the Thopter Producer, but that's okay. We got several more creatures in hand, so we can keep slamming in with the Bazaar Barge, but they do hit us for 5 a turn now, so we're a little scared. We're a little scared, to be completely honest. Or at least I am. I don't know about you all. The race, we win the race because we're attacking before they're attacking, but I'm a little scared about casting Live Fast. I can go Prism Aether Chaser this turn and still attack with Bazaar Barge, but I could also cast Fenhauler. Would have to tap the Bazaar Barge to do that, though. And then I don't attack this turn. I think it's pretty important to attack in this turn, so I think we're definitely casting Aether Chaser, and then we might cast Live Fast, might cast Prism. We're going to take the coward's way out here. We're going to cast Prophetic Prism. Too much of a coward to pay some life right now. Although I suppose we have a lot of removal in the deck, so I mean we're losing 2 life to get closer to removal, which might save us more life in the long run if it is on top. Getting a Prophetic Prism on board does give us another artifact to improvise Fenhauler so that we can improvise it onto the board without tapping Bazaar Barge, which is pretty great. Yeah, if we improvise with the Thopter and the Prism, we get a Fenhauler out and attack with Bazaar Barge this turn because we crew with the Hauler. Definitely don't let the Auto Tapper do its thing here, because the Auto Tapper wants to tap the vehicle. I've made that mistake before. A big thing to do in this format, unfortunately, is never let the auto tapper do anything. If you're casting an improvise card, it will literally always choose the worst option. It's always going to tap your vehicles to improvise. Or at least it'll do it frequently. Way more frequently than it should. So I highly recommend never auto-tapping for an improvise card. I've had a bad time with that in the past. But that'll get us there. No pump spell to finish us off there. Could have happened. They might have had a big combat trick and just slam us for 9 in the sky. But luckily for us, they did not. So round 3 here, 2-0 now. See what we've got this time around. We have all 3 colors. We've got our great cheap removal spell, Unlicensed Disintegration. We don't do anything till turn 3, but with all colors in hand, it is unmulliganable. Renegade map turn 1 from our opponent. Another 3-drop. Just what the doctor ordered. 3-drop tribal. Let's go. I guess we have a couple 4-drops too, so we do curve out a little bit. 3 to 4. Better than nothing. What have you got here, opponent? Looks like the mirror match so far. Both of us on red and black. They've got a Renegade map out, though. That could grab a 3rd color, be it a splash, or I guess they could just grab like a 2nd swamp or something. Aether Hub. Great card here. Can tap for 1 mana of any color if they spend an energy on it. And their creature of return is Weldfast Monitor. 3/2 that can get Menace now and then. That card I'm much less scared about. Could play Salivating Gremlins before anything else. That way when I'm casting other stuff, it's getting that extra power and slamming in well. Definitely not going to disintegrate a 3/2. And I think I do want to put something on the board here. I guess I could play a card that I'd rather trade for the Weldfast Monitor, because I don't really want Gremlins to trade into that. But I don't know. I think we're good either way if we trade or don't here. Because if we trade for it, then we don't have to worry about all the menace in the future. And if I don't trade for it, then I just start trying to slam in with trampling extra power. So they're on the play. They have a Renegade map, which means they have the perfect mana base here. They have a mana of any color from Aether Hub and another mana of any color from map. They can literally play whatever the most powerful 4 or less mana card in their hand is. I'm probably supposed to trade. I feel like I would rather trade with Gremlins than with a Salvager, but maybe I should have played the Pillar Bug and just traded there instead. If the plan is to just trade that turn. So Aether Torch Renegade just does 1 damage to a creature when it taps. Yeah, that's kind of whatever. Play a Sweatworks Brawler, we're hitting them a lot more aggressively than they are us. I suppose if they have any consistent energy production, for 8 total energy, they can do 6 damage to our face. But they only have 5 energy right now. Not particularly worried about them doing that, or at least not worried about them doing it consistently. They could play like a 2-mana card that makes 3 energy, but I don't know if they're going to do it consistently enough to hit us multiple times with that. Chandra's Revolution is the play. Keep the black source tapped, because that could be a removal spell. Well, we hit a land, which is good. Just play another Sweatworks Brawler here. They're down to 2 cards in hand, but with a Renegade map, they can grab another land out of their deck, so they're basically at like 3 cards, one of which would be a land, which isn't exciting, but still got a tiny bit of stuff to play around with. Eager Construct. Everybody scries 1. Whirler Virtuoso, don't mind if I do. Especially with a Live Fast in my hand. Oh yeah. We have 2 mana after whatever we play this turn. Everything in our hand's a 3-drop, so we can't cast 2 things. Unless I cast Live Fast and draw into a basic land. I guess that's possible. Maybe we could play the greedy play. That would be tap Swamp, double Mountain to cast Live Fast, and maybe hit a land and cast Whirler Virtuoso. We do have Unlicensed Disintegration as an instant speed removal spell here, so I think I just attack with Brawler. The only way they can block is if they double block, and if they double block, I can Unlicensed Disintegration to clear their whole board. Seems pretty great. Yeah, it seems super great to me. Sweatworks Brawler for the tricky attack. They probably just don't block, just take 3 here. Crack back for 2. They do block. We'll deal damage to Aether Torch Renegade, and we will kill Eager Construct. See if they have a blowout spell of their own, maybe a Subtle Strike or something. If they have a Subtle Strike, they do still survive this. Alright, no Subtle Strike, we just get the crisp, clean 2-for-1. Unlicensed Disintegration trades off for their 2 creatures there. Now they have nothing on board, 1 card in hand. Alright, slam in with a Menace creature every turn, get a Virtuoso out there, creating Thopters all over the place. Seems like a solid lead here. I'm surprised they've held onto this Renegade map as long as they have. That leads me to assume that they have powerful Revolt triggers in their deck. Revolt is a mechanic that makes you do a more powerful effect if one of your cards left the battlefield that turn. So they probably have something like the 3-mana 3/2 that gives something -3/-3 if they triggered Revolt. Because if you don't have any Revolt cards in the deck, I think you should just crack the map immediately and grab that basic. And I think they would have, but I think they're holding out for Revolt cards to get them out of this. As it stands, we're having a swell time over here. And we're drawing even more cards to even more open up the gap in cards in play here. Or I guess widen the gap. And they scoop them up there just to flood it out at the end. So 3-0 for Live Fast, Die Young. The Whirler Virtuoso Splash does it well. Alright, another great hand here with Unlicensed Disintegration as early game removal. Good, been playing some Brawl, untapped seems fine. Sounds good, Ryvoke. Thank you for the update. So opponents on green, and they start with a Narnum Renegade. 1-mana, 1/2 Death Toucher. Could have been bigger if they revolted, but they want to just curve out and get attacking. Turn 3, they play a Thriving Rhino. That turns itself into a 3/4 when they attack in. Untapped is working fine. Awesome. Thank you, Salad. Thank you, Salad on the side. It even does basic lands for some reason. Nice, that's super fancy. So what do I want to do here? I don't like the prospect of getting repeatedly hit by a 3/4, so I could see an argument for Disintegration, because I can Disintegrate here and I just take 1 damage this turn. I can also just Enthusiast for a couple 1/1s, and I trade a single 1/1 into Renegade if they attack in with it. So I just play Enthusiast to take the 3 damage for the turn, and then I have blockers ready. Yeah, Weaponcraft Enthusiast seems like a pretty good play here for a couple reasons. One of them is it stops Narnum Renegade from attacking, and the other one is it helps improvise a Sweatworks Brawler out early, to where we might even be able to cast 2 Brawlers at some point in 1 turn. So yeah, this stops Renegade from attacking. They just hit with Rhino. We go to 15. Super safe life total. We also have artifacts on board, so now when we do cast Disintegration, we get to deal extra damage to our opponent. And unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have to disintegrate a Scrapper Champion, because I am more scared of a 3/3 double strike than I am of a 3/4. So I think that is the disintegration plan. Are we doing anything else here? I should probably wait until they put the energy on it. Well, should I? Probably. This could blow up in my face. There's an uncommon combat trick that gives +2/+2 and hexproof here. If they have that, they can counter my removal spell. But if they don't have that, this way I get them to commit the energy into the champion so they can't use it on the Thriving Rhino. Which all in all seems like a really good deal to me. We just have to have them not have the Blossoming Defense. If they choose to put it on the Rhino here, that is next level mind reading. They're gonna put it on the Rhino. They're gonna put it on nothing. May have more energy cards coming up. I mean, they see a black-red deck that doesn't play anything turn 4, so they know something's coming here. So I understand the defensive play. What do we do then? I mean, we just still go for it on the better creature. Okay, so no blossoming defense. If they had it, they 100% would have cast it there. We'll go to 12. We keep these 1/1s as long as we can so they can stack up together to trade up into a Thriving Rhino. It's going to attack as a 4/5 the next time, so if we block it with 5 power toughness, we get there. So we cast a Sweatworks Brawler and go for the triple block. Because we know they don't have Blossoming Defense. They could have some other kind of combat trick here to win against a triple block. But I feel like the best green combat trick in the format is Blossoming Defense, so it would be the most likely one, and because we know they don't have that, I'm a little bit more prone to playing plays that can get blown out by a combat trick. They do just have a Welding Sparks. Now is when we might have to just chump block with an Enthusiast, because that's all it can accomplish. Stacking up for a double or triple block on the Rhino is going to be really hard if I don't have servos, but at the same time, probably got to just do this, and now we're hoping to draw into a removal spell. We have several removal spells in this deck that's just destroy target creature, period. So now we just dig for those. I think we play the Lifelinker here, because we can chump block and gain life off of it, or attack in and gain life off of it. We can only cast 1 card this turn, right? I guess we could just not block. We're still at 12. If we don't block, we go to 7. That gets 1 more counter, so it's going to be a 5/6. A 5/6, we need 3 power out. 3 power out to deal with it. I guess... I mean, we need 6 power out. We need 2 3-power creatures to deal with it. I could see going for Aether Chaser here, because then we get a servo out. When we attack with it, we can use that servo to improvise a Brawler and make a Salvager a 3/3. We won't have the mana to do both next turn anyway. It's just a rock in a hard place here. You know, I'm going to play Aether Chaser. I'm probably going to end up making the servo just a chump block here. And that just gives us more time. Because, you know, a 2/1 First Striker can attack into the 1/2 Death Touch as long as they don't play another creature here. We get to send in the Chaser and get a chump blocker out. They do draw into the next creature, though. And it gives them 2 energy. That's very brutal. Cast 1 card this turn. Play our Lifelinker, I guess. Gives us more time than anything else. We're very much in top deck mode here. Now I hold back so that I can block and kill something that isn't the Rhino, because they're getting to the point where they might just slam the all attack button. Send in the whole field. Yep. 4/3 Trample. I can double block that, gain 2 life, and only lose... I guess I do lose both creatures. So it's a 2-for-1 trade, but I gain the life, get one of their creatures off the board. I take 6, gain 2. So I'll be at 3 life, which means I can just keep chump blocking Rhino for a bit longer. I still have more turns after this, if that's the case. If they don't have more creatures off the top to follow up, I think it's the best we have, because we need to narrow their field. wonder what they're thinking on here. And they kill both our creatures no matter what. If they don't have a combat trick, then... Okay. Yeah, I mean, that would have been mega lethal at any point. I was gonna say, if they don't have a combat trick here, I think they just go, alright, trade happens. But they do have a combat trick, and that does just finish us off there. Rough game there, just some really solid, big early game creatures from the green-red monsters deck. Getting bigger from the energy. Let's see what we have here. Opponent's going first. We have blue-black in hand. We are on the draw here. Any land gets us to Pillar Bug. It's a risky one, though. We do really need red. Really need 2 lands in general. I am going to mulligan this. This will be... Yeah, this is definitely much more of a keep. Yeah, we can keep this and get rid of the 1 black card. As soon as we get 4 mana, we draw a card off Bazaar Barge. We have a great curve, 2 mana 3/2, 3 mana 2/3 that, you know, gets trample and attacks in well. Yeah, this hand's pretty sweet. And there's a Prophetic Prism that makes the hand even better. Now we have all 3 colors, and that draws us a card, helps us hit more lands when we need them. 3/1 Menace as long as they control an artifact. Kind of interested in just playing a first striker here, because a 1/1 servo token is also going to block the Bruiser really well, so we get to attack into it well, we get to block it well until they get an artifact out. Scrounger is good. It is going to do more damage immediately, or initially, but Aether Chaser I think just gives us a better board presence because it's split up between multiple creatures that are both just really good against the 3/1. Yeah, now there are 3/1s just stranded here doing nothing. Like, it's not going to block and it's not going to attack. So Aether Chaser just kind of completely blanks the Emerald Bruiser here until they cast an artifact. But hitting lands here was absolutely wonderful. We also hit all 3 colors, so we get to curve out now. Turn 3 Gremlins, turn 4 Bazaar Barge. That Bazaar Barge draws us a card and makes sure the Gremlins is attacking in really well. They choose to blow up the 2/1 first striker, I guess, because it's annoying for the Bruiser to deal with. Bruiser can trade with Gremlins. And unfortunately, Chandra's Revolution does keep one of our lands tapped, so we don't get to do the plan, which was to play Bazaar Barge here. I guess we can play a Scrounger instead. We do already have 1 creature engraved for it, so it's likely to come back. Yeah, I don't need to draw a card off of Prophetic Prism here, so I'd rather get more power on the board. Do we just take the Gremlins trade? I think we do. Stay aggressive. We trample over for 3 damage even if we trade off here. And we're not going to have any way to clear that out. The only way we can kill it is by combat right now. So we're going to have to take the trade at some point. Attack 4 here, then drop a Bazaar Barge. Seems good to me. They're down to 10. Here's the Barge. And the Renegade map, which we can use in our upkeep. We don't have any cards that have Revolt, so that we can... Alright, they just scoop them up. I was going to say, we don't have any cards with Revolt, so we don't need to keep the map around to trigger Revolt or anything, so we can just use it to thin out the deck, get a land out of there immediately. We could also just leave it on the board in order to sacrifice it to Defiant Salvager. That was something I was considering there. If it would be better to just get a +1/+1 counter on our Salvager, or to get a land in hand. Double Unlicensed Disintegration in hand with turn 1 Renegade map to make sure we have 3 lands turn 3, and all 3 of our colors. This is a hand and a half. I'll absolutely keep it. We also get to curve out with Aether Chaser turn 2. I like this. We definitely have to draw cards to play late game, but the early game, we're completely prepared for. Really great hand. Play our red source so that we can cast Aether Chaser. We're going to grab the blue. Long Tusk Cub is going to be a big problem if it hits us, but we've got 2 removal spells, so we'll be okay. Long Tusk Cub, very powerful energy card. When it deals combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy, and you can spend that energy to put a +1/+1 counter on it, so essentially it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger the more it hits you. There's a Thriving Rhino to give them 2 energy when the Rhino enters the battlefield, which means I have no viable blocks for the Long Tusk Cub, because if I block, they'll respond by putting a counter on it. 3/3 against a 2/1 first strike is a bad combat for us. And they even choose to spend the energy immediately. So it hits us for 3. But now we've got double unlicensed disintegration ready to fire off. Do I want to do it right now to stop a blossoming defense to give hexproof from our opponent? Or do we just hold off and see if we can get them to spend more energy? I think because they have a thriving rhino on board, again, I'm going to hold off and hope they spend more energy. But we're definitely on unlicensed disintegration as the plan here. We could get blown out by a blossoming defense, but I think it's a lot more likely they end up spending energy into the cub than it is that they have the perfect uncommon rarity combat trick to stop this. Because they're almost guaranteed to spend energy for extra damage here. Spend it once. Are they going to spend it twice? Probably not. Yeah, we'll just disintegrate it now. Alright, no blossoming defense. We, of course, unfortunately don't have an artifact out, which means we don't get the damage to them, but we still kill a really important creature to kill. Now, they do have 2 energy, so Rhino gets to attack as a 3/4. We are going to take 3 damage this next turn, but we can block the Servant really well. They have 3 cards in hand, none of which are going to immediately attack us. I think I'm pretty safe to just drop a Barge here. Take a little bit of damage to spend my time setting up a good blocker. We're at 17. We got plenty of life here. We can take 3, go to 14. This will be really nice if they don't have a follow-up creature to play here. They probably will, but if they don't, we actually get to attack with our Aether Chaser and get our servo. Alright, Airdrop Aeronauts it is. That is a big follow-up creature. That will probably get disintegrated. Being a 4/3 flyer, we can stop the ground creatures with our 5/5 as soon as we can crew it. We can't stop the flying creature. So we only have 5 mana, which means we can only cast 1 card here. We're either killing the flyer, or we're establishing enough power on the ground to block the ground creature. I guess it stops 1 more damage to just kill the flyer. So if we kill the flyer right now, we take 3. If we play ground blockers, we take 4. Next turn, we get to spend 6 mana of cards. Yep, let's just blow up the Airdrop Aeronauts, and there's no reason not to kill that one. Just main phase, so they can't Blossoming Defense if they have it, because they're not going to spend anything to make it better. Like they would any of their energy cards. 3 cards in hand now. Fairgrounds Warden going to go ahead and exile our Aether Chaser. I am fine with that. It's going to be the smallest creature that we play pretty much all game. We are down to 9, so we're taking some damage here, but we do get to slam down a 5/5 if I tap the Bazaar Barge, in which case if they have another removal spell, I'm in a World of Hurt, or I get to slap down a million blockers, in which case they're definitely not attacking in. The flavor of this game, yeah, all these fantastic things spring into being, and I'm just like, nah, disintegrate it. I'm just gonna really clutter up the board here, because I want to play it safe and make it so it's very unreasonable for them to make any attacks against us. Fenhuller does give us the biggest creature on board immediately, but then if they followed up with like another Fairgrounds Warden, like, man, am I getting slapped if that is the response. Because I wouldn't even be able to immediately crew the Bazaar Barge to attack with, because I would have had to tap the Bazaar Barge to cast the Fenhuller. But now, I stopped the attack that turn, and I just get to cast the Fenhuller this turn, which is extra good. Once again, never, 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 never let Arena auto-tap your improvised cards, because it wants to tap my Bazaar Barge. Alright. Now that we have a 5/5 to block naturally, do I attack with the Bazaar Barge here? Probably not, because that would require tapping several blockers. And if it attacks in, it trades for a single 3/4, which is not a great trade. I guess we'll have to clear out their board at some point. I don't think we do it quite yet. I like attacking with like multiple 5/5s next turn after we get another 3/3 on board. Also like attacking if I draw any more instant speed removal, which I promise I have more than just unlicensed disintegrations in this deck. There are other removal spells. Play a brawler. And hold up the black mana for Pillar Bug. But I do think that we crew the Bazaar Barge now. They can double block with Thriving Rhino and Servant. We get to kill the Rhino, but if we kill the Rhino, everything else is fair game, pretty much. Like, if we kill the Rhino, they don't have enough power to block our other 5/5 anymore. So I think we attack with just Bazaar Barge, because I don't want to attack in with both and then have them kill Fenholler, because I don't like having to always crew. Although I guess it's not that big of a downside having to crew when we've got multiple servos and a Pillar Bug, but I am at 9 life, so it is shutting off a lot of blockers to do so. Yeah, we'll attack with only Bazaar Barge, but I could see an argument for sending the Fenholler in as well. But I am going to wait a turn to do that. Now that the Rhino's out of the way, I think we have great attacks. And I should have played this land here. This is one of those situations, sometimes it is good to bluff a land. And we do have an instant speed trick of just like on board, so it is going to look like we have some kind of instant if I hold on to this land. But our deck has actually some draw spells where we could hit like our 3 mana draw 2 spell, in which case we might end up in a situation where I have to play land for turn, draw 2, and then I hit a land and something I can't cast unless I had played all my lands out, if you know what I'm saying. Did your Rhino sink my battleship? It did. Hungry Flames is a fantastic draw. Anyways, while I was doing that whole spiel on this being a game where I shouldn't just be bluffing lands, I totally forgot to just send in an attack here and kind of slow played my opponent a little bit here, which feels bad because we're in a really good position. So apologies to opponent. Magic is a great game, especially flavorfully with the stuff like that. It is kind of hilarious. So again, I am going to play this hand rather than bluffing some kind of trick. Because I do have a draw 2 spell in the deck, it's possible to spend 3, draw 2, and then hit a 6 mana card and not be able to cast it because I didn't play both the land that I was holding on to and the land that I drew off of the draw 2, because you can't play 2 lands in one turn. I'm explaining that so poorly, but I hope you're getting what I'm saying. At this point, we might have enough mana that we just hold on to lands. Do we let them trade with Pillar Bug? Yeah, I think there's very little reason to attack with something that they could trade with here. Unless it's just lethal on board, which it isn't. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it's not lethal. I guess it would be. They have to block Fenholler, so I should have sent in the Pillar Bug. Alright, they scoop him up. That is 5-1 now. Started playing a little bit not ideally at the very end there, because I was trying to get my monkey brain to figure out how to explain why I shouldn't be bluffing my lands. I don't even think it worked. I don't think it came out right. According to Untapped, you didn't have any expensive cards other than the Holler. Uh-oh. And that was dead. Maybe I need to remove untapped.gg so that I don't look like a fool. I thought I had 2 haulers. I thought I had another hauler in this deck. I'll play the Skyskiff here. I could play the Prism to be able to cast the Virtuoso, but I kind of like curving out with Salivating Gremlins and immediately attacking with Skyskiff. Because if I get Salivating Gremlins out before I get Virtuoso out, then the tokens that Virtuoso produces are also damaging. I guess I could also curve out with Sweatworks Brawler, which is hard to block because I have an artifact out. Makes sense, could have drawn 2 playable cards. Mana is always good to have. Yeah, but if I draw 2 playable cards off of my draw 2 spell, then I could just play the land the turn that I drew those 2 cards, you know what I'm saying? So the only instance in which it matters is if you draw a land and a spell, to where then you have 2 lands in hand plus a spell that's too expensive to cast unless you play both of the 2 lands. I'm going to go for the aggressive Gremlins line here. That way I get an immediate attack in with Sky Skiff, and next turn, hopefully a big old slam with the gremlins. You get that, but you play green. Mana. I do enjoy green. Green was the first color that I played with, which I feel like is almost everybody's story. But wow. When I started the game, my dad used to own a comic book shop. So he had a bunch of cards from the very, very beginning of the game. So just the moment I turned 13, because I'm a family of goody two-shoes like that, Magic's 13 and up, he's not going to tell me how to play Magic till I'm 13. The moment I turned 13, he pulls out this box of old-ass, like... Ooh, I cursed. Streams are PG-13. Videos are PG. He pulls out this box of, like, unlimited and revised Magic cards. So I literally started the game on the classic mono-green Llanowar Elves and Crawworms and Grizzly Bears. The oldest green cards in existence. That was my jam. Yeah, I'm really lucky to have a cool dad that's into all the things that I'm into. He closed the comic book shop when we were born, so they're just like all these relics of the past, but they're all like really cool stuff. He went to get like a much more consistent like adult job than running a comic book shop. At least that's how he would put it. Because his comic book shop was like a kind of a passion project for him. It was never all that financially viable, so he just got a higher paying job doing more boring stuff to support us as kids. Is he still playing? Yeah, he still plays. I don't think he doesn't play nearly as much as me, but I think he plays a little bit for like each set release. He likes seeing all the new formats and stuff. So I think whenever like a new set gets added to Arena, or mostly Magic Online, I think is what he plays, he'll play Sealed like really hard for like a week and then he'll just drop out. But he's very similar to me in his Magic playing tastes, where he just likes limited mainly. All right, now we get to play around with Virtuosos. Or I could play another Brawler. They've got one creature on board, so it definitely bashes in. I'm going to play another Menace creature here. I don't know if this is right, but I'm going to play another Menace creature over their Virtuoso. I almost let Arena auto-tap and just absolutely destroy me there. Not this dumb Rhino again. Thriving Rhino's great. Definitely one of the best green commons. 3 mana for a 2/3 is like an okay deal. It's not great, but... the fact that it attacks in and it turns itself into a 3/4, just self-contained, all off of that one card, is such a good deal. 3 mana for a 3/4, basically. You do have to be in an aggressive position to do it, and here they're not. They have to just hold it off the block. A double block is actually not even that great for them, because we can choose to kill the Rhino instead of killing the Filigree Familiar, so they don't draw a card. So we still stay aggressive. Play a Virtuoso. We can use that to crew the Skiff so we can attack with both of our Menace creatures. And we can also play a Scrap Heap Scrounger. I guess I should crew the Sky Skiff with Scrap Heap Scrounger, since it can't block anyway, so there's no possible way that comes back to bite me. Whereas it's really rare that it would matter because I'm at 20 life, but it could matter that these two can block. We get to attack all. Whatever double block they make, we just kill the Rhino. Perfect. And they're down to 8 now. Past the turn. Yeah, I haven't paid much attention this game because I've been just like reminiscing on stuff. But we drew just a nuts aggressive hand here. There were definitely multiple different lines we could have taken with it, like how I started off with Salivating Gremlins instead of other stuff. But all in all, this hand has just been absurd enough. I don't even really need to think while I play. It's just actually ridiculous. We can attack all, give them a card draw here. I guess they get to kill Scrounger and they take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can deal 8 to them if we get another creature out, so I think I have to play Virtuoso over Live Fast, because it's the only guaranteed way I get a creature out. It's possible I cast Live Fast without drawing another land. This way I have lethal on board. They have 1 green mana up, so I'm fairly certain I just kill them here by attacking all. They block Scrap Heap, Scrounger, everything else does 8 damage to them. And I needed to play another creature so I could crew something that couldn't attack this turn. So that's why we Virtuoso instead of Live Fast. Alright, yeah, that was ridiculous. I feel a little bad for our opponent. We just drew a lot of our really powerful aggressive creatures there for a wonderful curve to start things off. And that'll lead us all the way up into Diamond Tier 1. We're only 1 tier away from Mythic now, and we're at 6 wins and 1 loss for Live Fast, Die Young. Super great deck. I think I keep this. I enjoy me a Sky Skiff, especially with multiple servos to crew it. I enjoy Aether Chasers turn 2. I enjoy Gremlins. We just need to hit a blue source, or, I mean, a 3rd land period would be good. Night Market Lookout to start things out. Let's play our Mountain first. If I hit a blue source, it's possible I just go like Mountain Island for Virtuoso. But I guess Virtuoso is a 3-drop, so either way I can play Swamp turn 2. Doesn't really matter. We do hit our 3rd mana. Not a blue source, though, so what do we want to do against this 1-1? Probably Aether Chaser. I don't love slamming down Sky Skiff, because then we just keep getting drained by this Night Market Lookout for a little bit, because we have nothing to crew it immediately. Whereas Aether Chaser, now we have a 1st strike creature to block their 1-1, so Night Market Lookout just stops hitting us. You get excited every time you see Salivating Gremlins. It's a fun card, and we have some good combos with it because of the Thopter production and Servo production here. So it is an exciting card. That is a fair response to seeing a Salivating Gremlins. So 3 mana, do we just play the Gremlins? If an elf can dream it, a dwarf can build it, and a gremlin can eat it. Yeah, pretty great flavor text. So, yeah, with a Pillar Bug, I need to get a stronger attacker on this board. Get our Gremlins out. We could also just play a Sky Skiff and try to get there in the sky. But I'll play the Gremlins. I like the idea of getting a big old trample attack. The only way they kill the Gremlins is with a double block. I'll take a 2-for-1 all day long. It's possible they just play a 3-power creature this turn, and then I'm a little bit sad, but otherwise, the Gremlins is pretty solid. Another 1-power creature it is. And a Pacification Array. No, get this out of my life. Miniature Icy Manipulator is in here to make its best impression of its big father. Alright, so they tap down Gremlins every turn now, but it costs them 2 mana to do it over and over. We probably just go wide then. I like playing Fireweaver. We're under no threat. They have 1/1s and a 2/3. So we can play it really slow here and just play as many creatures on this board as possible so that we can go wide. So even if they tap one of our creatures every turn, we could just keep attacking with other stuff. And Aether Chaser's not great against that 2/3, so I think I play Scrounger before Chaser. So I play Scrounger or Sky Skiff here. It's one of those two. I like Sky Skiff here. Because now they have to just keep tapping down Sky Skiff, so I could actually try to hit them with Gremlins. And I'd actually be happier to trade than I would to hit them in the face with Gremlins. Because if I trade, I can get the 2/3 out of the way so that the Aether Chasers can start getting in there. But yeah, this turn, Sky Skiff is summoning sick, so they just keep tapping Gremlins for now, but in the future, I get to keep using Sky Skiff to attack them, so they probably keep tapping Sky Skiff instead. Yeah, I can crew, if they choose to keep tapping Gremlins, then yeah, I can just keep hitting them with Sky Skiff instead. But I feel like they're going to just start choosing to tap Sky Skiff. I think that's the ideal play for them. Whirler Virtuoso is a great draw here, because Whirler Virtuoso gives me the instant speed ability to put a Thopter on the board, so I can surprise them with a +2/+0 trample. I mean, they're going to see it coming. They know I have 5 energy, but still. And I will play my artifact pre-combat, so Gremlins is bigger. And we'll see if they want to tap Gremlins or Sky Skiff here. I mean, now they know Gremlins is at least 4 power, and it can be 6 power on the attack, so they might tap Gremlins again. It's a hard choice for them, and they're thinking on it. Yeah, triple Night Market Lookout is... Oh, I had to crew. It skipped over when I could crew my skiff. Oops. Or I guess I skipped over when I could crew my skiff. My bad. Yeah, triple Night Market Lookout is not good for them here. There are definitely decks where that'd be okay, like they can curve out consistently. I might as well get extra trample damage in here. But it's possible... I think what's likely here is they have 3 1-mana cards in the whole deck, and they're all Night Market Lookouts, and they've just gotten really unlucky here. It's always going to be a bad time when you draw all of your cheap cards and your opponent draws all of their expensive cards, because then your opponent's cards are all just going to have a high impact on the game. So they're just going to tap their own Night Market Lookout to drain me for 1 here because I forgot to crew my Sky Skiff. Or I missed the opportunity to crew my Sky Skiff. Fun combo. Yeah, they found a way to use the Pacification Ray if I wasn't going to crew Sky Skiff anyway. And I guess, yeah, I don't know. I thought that I could wait until they choose whether or not they want to tap something with a Ray to do my Skiff, but then I did that, and it immediately went into combat afterward. So I'm not sure... Maybe I couldn't crew Sky Skiff in response to them tapping my creature down. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be able to do that. So Fortuitous Find gets back the Night Market Lookout. That is the 4th Night Market Lookout cast this game, if you think of it that way. They are really on the lookout here. They've got like the Pat Trap Patrol. So just to be safe here, I'm just gonna... oh, I guess I could improvise here and cast both of my creatures. They don't have enough mana to tap anything this turn. Is it worth it? I think it is. You know what I should do? I should play Aether Chaser. Here's the combo. I play Aether Chaser to get 2 energy. Then I get to spend that energy to make a Thopter that can't attack this turn anyway. Because I need an artifact to improvise Sweatworks Brawler out. And I use the artifact that can't attack to improvise this out, instead of having to use one that could attack. And now I get to use the creature that can't attack this turn to crew the Sky Skiff and attack with literally everybody else. There we go. Kaladesh is a way more complex format than Dungeons & Dragons has been lately. I feel like there's always just all kinds of nonsense going on like this. And they could triple block our 1/3 and trade a 1/1 up into it, but then they take like 1,000,000 damage. That is the best block that they have, and they do go with it. But I am out of creatures to play, so I don't even know if Fireweaver is going to drain them anymore throughout the game, so I think it's worth it. Sacrifice it to get a bunch of damage in. Still kill at least one of their blockers. Alright, they're down to 8. Oh no, there's moving parts in the Automaton set. Yeah, it's pretty flavorful, pretty fancy. They kill our menace creature now. No, I love Kaladesh for what it gave constructed formats, because it gave so many just fun, like, combo-y tools. The limited environment's really cool as well, but it can be a bit much, definitely, for newer players. And even for myself sometimes, because brain no work too good. So they just send in the lookouts so they can gain some life here. Because they're not going to block well. We can Demolition their only blocker and just take whatever they crack back at us with. That was a good draw. So I think we just go to combat here. Because if I crew Skyskiff at the cost of a 1/1, I'm adding 1 damage total to what I would do. But if they tap down Scrounger, then I can crew Skyskiff with the Scrounger, and I'm adding 2 more damage to what I would do. So it's a net gain if they choose not to use Pacification Array in terms of damage than it would be if I just crew Skiff main phase. And it's a net gain, especially if they choose to use it. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, exact lethal if I just wait for them to array. Still don't understand. Kaladesh, when would be the last day of the draft? I think the 19th, because on the 20th it switches over to Ikoria. GG. Oh yeah, that's 7 wins, I think. But on the 20th it switches over to Ikoria, and I don't know what time on the 20th, so the safest bet to get your free draft in would be to do it on the 19th. I believe. We can double check the website after this in between rounds, but that is going to end the draft. But I will be doing more drafts after this if you're watching on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to pop open these packs and end the video here. But thank you all, as always, for watching. Thanks for all the support lately. Tons of super positive comments. I know I don't always respond to all of the YouTube comments, but I do appreciate them all. It's really, I don't know, it's hard to find the words to to properly respond in a way that feels good when people are just like praising you. So I don't know. I don't always have the greatest responses to the comments, but I do appreciate them all. They do make me feel good about spending my extra time uploading these drafts for you all. So as always, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you all for watching. But that is going to end today's draft, and I will see you all again soon for some more Magic Arena.